Atlanta was still gasping from the aftershocks of Yandy's explosive receipts, but the city didn't even get time to breathe before another storm rolled in. The streets were buzzing louder than barbershops on a Saturday, and blogs were spinning stories faster than DJs at Magic City. Fans weren't just scrolling, they were lurking, waiting, hungry for the next chapter in what had already become Atlanta's loudest loyalty war. But the noise wasn't what shook people, it was the silence. Because while Yandy stood 10 toes down, dragging shade and dropping subtle captions, the one name everyone kept typing, hashtagging, and whispering was Mendeecees. For weeks, the man who had built a reputation for being calm in chaos had let his wife fight the storm alone. He let her carry the arrows, let her swing solo, let her take the heat while he stayed quiet. But silence in Atlanta don't last forever. The streets don't respect quiet. The streets demand sound. And now the sound they were demanding was his voice. Hashtags started shifting like weather. What began as support for Yandy morphed into pressure on her husband. Hashtag protect Yandy turned into hashtag where Mendeecees at. The fans weren't satisfied with her strength anymore, they wanted his stance. Was he going to stay in the shadows while his wife's name was being dragged through mud puddles of betrayal? Or was the man known for moving in silence finally about to let the truth slide off his tongue like fire on gasoline? The answer came without warning. One late night, phones across Atlanta lit up with a notification that sent group chats scrambling. Mendeecees Harris is live. No promo flyer, no countdown, no warning. Just raw, unfiltered, unplanned. Within minutes, thousands flooded in, timelines froze, and the whole city leaned in like the first row at a boxing match. His face filled the screen, calm as ever, but the vibe was different. His eyes were steady, but the weight in his voice was heavier than any shouting match. He didn't come with antics, he came with precision. He started exactly where everyone expected. He looked into that camera and said, "One thing about my wife, she don't fold." He paused, letting the words hang like smoke in the room. Then he continued, voice low but sharp. People question her loyalty, drag her body, her name, her marriage. But reality? She'd been solid. She stood by people who wouldn't even spit on her if she was burning. And y'all know exactly who I'm talking about. The comments section exploded like fireworks on the 4th. Fire emojis flooded the screen. Caps lock declarations of "preach" stacked so fast the feed froze. Protect Yandy scrolled faster than the heart button could keep up. For the first time, Mendeecees wasn't the silent partner, and the people were eating it like Thanksgiving dinner. Then he tilted his head, shifted his tone, and aimed his words like darts. Rasheeda, I ain't gonna say too much. But loyalty? Loyalty is free. My wife sat at tables with you, broke bread with you, treated you like family. And you sat in them confessionals dragging her breath, her body, her marriage. That ain't friendship. That's fraud. He didn't raise his voice, but every syllable landed like a knife to the chest. The live chat erupted again, fans gagging at the quiet cut. This wasn't women tossing shade anymore. This was a husband calling out betrayal, man to woman, family to fraud. And then he went for the real shadow. Kirk. For years, he had stayed lurking behind Rasheeda, letting her take the bullets, pretending his silence was wisdom. But that night, Mendeecees pulled him straight into the light. His tone sharpened. And Kirk? I must say this respectfully. Stay in your lane. Don't think because you sit quiet you can dodge this. You encouraged your woman to keep bashing mine and thought I wouldn't say nothing? Your history speaks louder than me, bro. You the last one who need to be speaking about loyalty. That one line detonated the internet. The comments lost their minds, clown emojis for days, old clips of Kirk's DNA test confession resurfaced like buried bodies, fans reposted the side baby storyline with new captions dragging him to filth. Within hours, his name wasn't just trending, it was drowning. The live instantly became classic. Twitter had threads breaking down his body language. TikTok edits layered his words over dramatic music. YouTube bloggers uploaded frame-by-frame analysis. The headlines were unanimous: Mendeecees breaks silence, defends Yandy, warns Kirk. In one night, the war evolved. No longer Yandy versus Rasheeda. It was Harris versus Frost. Couple versus couple. Loyalty versus fraud. And the imbalance was loud. Because while the Harrisas looked like unity in motion, the Frosts looked fractured and exposed. Rasheeda felt it immediately. She scrolled through repost after repost, her chest tightening as hashtags piled up against her. She had banked on silence protecting her, but now silence was sinking her. Her phone blew up, friends advising her to clap back, castmates whispering strategies, fans daring her to go live. She typed captions, deleted them, typed again, deleted again. But no words could erase receipts, and in Atlanta, excuses don't survive when truth is on the table. Meanwhile, Kirk was plotting. He wasn't about to let another man drag his name without trying to finesse the narrative. But unlike Mendeecees, he didn't move fast. He never did. His whole game was moving slow, pretending unbothered. 2 days later, he popped up on a podcast, sipping water with a smirk plastered across his face. The host asked him directly about Mendeecees' comments, and he chuckled like he was above it all. "Look, man, I don't do internet beef. If bro wanna protect his wife, that's cool. But me and mine? We solid. We don't gotta defend ourselves every time somebody wanna trend. That's the difference between building for show and building for life." He thought that smirk would save him. He thought the fake calm would make him look untouchable. Instead, it set his house on fire. The clip went viral instantly, but not in his favor. The comments section was savage. Not Kirk talking about building when his house been shaking since 2012. Bro embarrassed Rasheeda on national TV for a decade, sit this one out. The arrogance turned into gasoline, fueling a drag session that had no brakes. The streets didn't see wisdom in his words, they saw cowardice. They saw a man hiding behind smirks because he knew his history was uglier than any storyline VH1 ever aired, and that was when the lines of war carved themselves in stone. It was official. Team Harris versus Team Frost. 2 marriages, 2 legacies, 2 empires in the same city, locked in a battle the whole culture couldn't stop watching. Blogs called it couples court. Fans split timelines with hashtags. Hashtag Team Harris sword, women. Praising Mendeecees as the blueprint for defending your wife. Meanwhile, hashtag Team Frost drowned under a sea of clown emojis and recycled receipts. The tide had turned, and Kirk's podcast arrogance had sunk him deeper, but if Atlanta knows one thing, it's this: wars don't end after one battle. Mendeecees may have lit the torch, but the blaze was far from finished. And as the city leaned in for the next move, one truth echoed louder than any caption: the loyalty war had evolved, and now it wasn't just reality TV. It was legacy versus legacy. Atlanta couldn't stop replaying that clip of Mendeecees calmly slicing through shade like a surgeon with a scalpel, telling Kirk to stay in his lane. It wasn't just a live anymore, it was a cultural moment. Twitter turned it into think pieces. TikTok layered it with dramatic violins. YouTube bloggers slowed down the footage, pointing out every smirk, every eye twitch, every pause in his tone. Fans crowned him the new symbol of husband goals overnight, calling it the cleanest drag in love and hip-hop history. But the streets of Atlanta are ruthless. They don't just replay moments, they excavate wounds. They dig. They drag. And they make sure the past never stays buried. Which meant the man in the hottest seat wasn't even Rasheeda anymore, it was Kirk. He thought that podcast smirk was going to place him above the mess, like he was untouchable. But instead, it was the crack in the dam. The internet swarmed him, ripping open every scandal he thought he had tucked away. Under that podcast clip, fans weren't just laughing, they were loading receipts like bullets. Screenshots of his side baby scandal reappeared, captions screaming, "Never forget." Old clips of him confessing to cheating while Rasheeda was pregnant resurfaced like fresh wounds. Memes of his "I need a DNA test" storyline drowned timelines. The irony dripped thick. Mendeecees, once dragged for his own past, was now being praised as solid for defending his wife, while Kirk, the man who had turned betrayal into a brand, was being dragged as the architect of humiliation. Rasheeda tried to keep her face strong for the cameras. She posted a boutique photo, perfectly lit, captioned, "Solid women don't fold. I stand tall in truth." But the fans weren't buying any of it. Her comments section turned into a public execution. Truth? Girl, that's not what your man built. The same solid woman who sat in group chats shading her own friend? Not you using your boutique as cover again. Even her clothes weren't safe. Fans screenshot her racks and wrote, "Sis, loyalty ain't the only thing that's cheap." What was supposed to be a branding post became a viral roast session, and every hashtag hit harder than the one before. Meanwhile, Yandy played it like chess, not checkers. She didn't overreact, didn't go loud, didn't get messy. Her captions were simple, sharp, like needles. Real recognizes real, fake always exposes itself. She didn't even need to name names, the people did it for her. Her comments overflowed with crown emojis, fire, and endless praise. Every time she posted with Mendeecees, the internet bowed. Fans called them the new blueprint. Side by side, united, calm in the storm. The more polished and unshaken the Harrises looked, the weaker the Frosts appeared. And in reality TV wars, perception is everything. Then came the shift. One night, while fans were still dissecting boutique captions, an anonymous page dropped. A bomb that rattled the entire city. An audio leak. It was muffled, grainy, but the voice, fans swore it belonged to Kirk. The words were slow, deliberate, "You just gotta keep it cool. Don't say too much about you and Rasheeda being close. Let people think what they want. It'll die down." And then, on the other end, a female voice that sounded an awful lot like Jasmine, laughing softly, "They ain't ready for me anyway." That 30-second clip turned Atlanta upside down. Blogs reposted it with captions like, Kirk coaching. Jasmine? Audio leak sparks new fire. The comments were relentless. Fans dragged him for playing puppet master, for being more loyal to chaos than his own wife. And just like that, Jasmine's name shot back into the center of the storm like a grenade. She had been silent for weeks, smirking on the sidelines, but now? Silence looked like guilt. Fans flooded her old posts with snake emojis, calling her the real villain of the loyalty war. And in Atlanta, silence is admission. If you don't deny, you're guilty. Spice tried to laugh it off when fans pulled her name into the mess, but the internet doesn't forgive easy. Old clips resurfaced, her smirking during confessionals, making cryptic jokes about not knowing why friendships ended. Suddenly, fans painted her as the silent delivery driver of drama, the ultimate bone carrier. Her comments flooded with bone emojis. People renamed her UPS Spice, calling her the courier of chaos. No matter how many lives she jumped on to deny it, her words drowned under the wave of fans screaming, caught in 4K. While the frosts crumbled, the harassers soared. Mendeecees and Yandy posted a single photo, hand in hand, no caption. Within minutes, it went viral. Blogs reposted it with headlines like, The Blueprint. Fans turned it into motivational memes, find someone who protects your name when you're not in the room. That image was a weapon, and it cut deeper than any paragraph of shade, but Atlanta wasn't done. The same anonymous page that dropped the first audio teased another. They posted a simple caption, round 2 coming. Longer. Clearer. Messier. The city lit up like fight night. Fans braced themselves, bloggers prepped thumbnails, YouTubers scheduled emergency live streams. The buzz felt like a countdown to an explosion. When the second audio finally dropped, the internet detonated. This time, there was no muffling. It was crystal clear. Kirk's voice, deliberate, low, unmistakable. Just don't say too much about you and Rasheeda. Y'all keep it cute, let people think it's nothing. This whole thing will blow over if you don't give Yandy no fuel. Then came Jasmine's laugh, clear, sharp, smug. Please, they ain't ready for me. I got way more on her if I really wanted to shake it up. That was it. The nail in the coffin. The fans didn't hesitate, they crowned him the manipulator of the decade. Hashtags like hashtag Kirk exposed, hashtag Jasmine mess, hashtag Rasheeda ruin trended worldwide. TikTok stitched his old confessionals with the new audio, captions screaming, this man never changed. Twitter dragged him, Instagram buried him, YouTube analyzed him. The man who thought he was dodging shade became the shade. And Rasheeda? She wasn't painted as the solid wife anymore. She was the betrayed betrayer, the weight was too heavy. One late night, she went live. Her eyes were puffy, her voice cracked, her tone shaking. She tried to explain, said the audio was twisted, taken out of context, that she was tired of the lies. But the people didn't buy it. The comments turned into daggers. Context? That's your man coaching your messy friend. You married the scandal, sis. That's the real problem. You picked Kirk over loyalty, and this is what you got. Instead of sympathy, her live turned into another viral humiliation. She ended it abruptly, tears streaming, but the damage was irreversible, and then came Jasmine. Instead of denying, she leaned into her villain role like she was auditioning for an Oscar. She posted a selfie, captioned, Unbothered Queen crowned. It backfired immediately. Her comments section drowned in clown and snake emojis. Fans called her the gravedigger of friendships, the ultimate clout chaser who destroyed relationships just to trend. Some applauded her shamelessness, but most dragged her as the messiest villain love and hip-hop had ever birthed. Spice couldn't escape either. In the audio, Kirk casually mentioned her, Spice already knows what's up, she just playing neutral for cameras. That one line reopened a wound she thought had healed. Fans tore her apart, accusing her of being the silent instigator. She went live swearing she had nothing to do with it, but her comments were filled with bone emojis, fans yelling, delivery confirmed. Her credibility as the neutral queen evaporated in real time. The harassers, meanwhile, stood taller than ever. Yandy delivered a single closing caption, loyalty built this house. Betrayal can't burn it down. God don't miss. It was short, sharp, poetic. Within hours, it was reposted as a mantra across fan pages, blogs, and Twitter feeds. Mendeecees. Followed up with a single word on a photo of them holding hands, solid. That was it. No long paragraphs, no explanations. Just unity. The contrast was brutal. On one side, the harassers, crowned as king and queen of loyalty, celebrated as the cultural standard. On the other, the frosts, drowning in shame, dragged by receipts, memes, and tears. Kirk was the manipulator. Rasheeda the betrayed. Jasmine the villain. Spice the exposed courier. And through it all, Mendeecees and Yandy sat calm, untouchable, almost regal. The loyalty war wasn't just reality TV anymore. It was a massacre. And the streets had already picked their champions. Atlanta felt like it had just lived through a public trial, and the verdict was written in neon across every timeline. The people had already chosen their champions. Yandy and Mendeecees stood tall as the couple who embodied unity, loyalty, and power, while Rasheeda and Kirk stumbled under the weight of their own betrayals. Every meme, every TikTok recap, every blog headline painted the same story. The Harissas had protected their throne while the Frosts had watched theirs collapse brick by brick. It wasn't just reality TV anymore, it was a cultural ruling. And in Atlanta, when the streets deliver a verdict, there are no appeals. Inside VH1 circles, whispers confirmed what fans had already sensed. Producers had been quietly praying for a Frost redemption arc, hoping Rasheeda could polish her brand and Kirk could stay quiet enough to let the mess fade. But the streets had no appetite for forgiveness. Too many receipts, too many humiliations, too many years of public disgrace. The boutique posts couldn't save her. The polished interviews couldn't shield him. Their empire, once protected by endurance and silence, had cracked beyond repair. Meanwhile, the Harissas didn't even have to chase storylines. Their unity had become the storyline. They were the main event without lifting a finger. And VH1 wasn't about to ignore the fact that the city had already crowned its new power couple. Rasheeda went dark. After her failed live, she posted only filtered photos with empty captions, and even those were torn apart by the fans. She could no longer hide behind her image. Every post became a battlefield, her boutique clowned, her brand mocked, her captions dissected. Kirk, sensing the streets had turned on him completely, disappeared from the spotlight altogether. He didn't go live, didn't post captions, didn't even try to defend himself. He knew any words from his mouth would only trigger another avalanche of memes and old clips. Silence became his only strategy, but in this war, silence wasn't strength. It was surrender. Jasmine, on the other hand, leaned deeper into chaos. Her smug selfies and taunting captions painted her as the villain Atlanta loved to hate. She embraced the role, but the backlash was suffocating. Her comments section filled with endless clown emojis, her DMs leaked showing fans dragging her with paragraphs, her reputation buried under the weight of the narrative she thought she controlled. Her shamelessness gained her clicks, but it cost her credibility. She wasn't the main character anymore, she was the punchline. Spice, who had once thrived in the middle of every storm, suddenly found neutrality wasn't enough. That one mention in Kirk's audio had stained her. Fans no longer believed she was simply observing. They painted her as the silent bone carrier, the courier of secrets, the woman who played both sides with a smirk. She went live multiple times, swearing she had nothing to do with the plotting, but her denials drowned under the sea of bone emojis. For the first time, the Queen of Shade looked rattled, cornered by a narrative she couldn't shake. Meanwhile, Yandy and Mendeecees ascended to a level no couple in love and hip-hop history had ever reached. They didn't just win the storyline, they transcended it. Every post of them together went viral. Every caption became a quote reposted by fan pages. Their live sessions turned into motivational speeches, their unity celebrated as cultural gospel. Women tweeted, "I need a Mendeecees in my life." Men posted, "I respect how he protects his queen." They became the blueprint not just for love and hip-hop, but for Black love, loyalty, and legacy. The final blow to the Frosts came not from a fan, not from a blog, but from the network itself. Producers leaked whispers that VH1 was shifting focus away from the Frosts. Their storyline, once central to Atlanta drama, was deemed exhausted. There was nothing left to salvage. Too many receipts, too much public dragging, too much humiliation to rebuild from. But the Harissas? They were now the golden couple. Their loyalty had birthed ratings, their shade had gone viral, their bond had been certified by the streets. VH1 leaned in, knowing the culture had already declared them the face of the franchise. The streets of Atlanta didn't let the Frosts fade quietly either. Memes resurfaced daily. Clips of Kirk asking for DNA tests, clips of Rasheeda crying in confessionals, clips of Jasmine smirking on lives. Fans recycled every wound until it was fresh again. The Frosts tried to retreat, but Atlanta has a long memory. Once you're branded, the label never leaves. And their label was permanent, betrayal. Yandy closed the war the same way she fought it, calm, collected, sharp. She posted one final caption, "You can't bury truth. You can't fake loyalty. You can't rewrite God's plan." It was poetic, simple, and final. The comment section crowned her again, fans calling her Queen Harris, fans praising her strength, fans quoting her like scripture. Hours later, Mendeecees posted a photo of them walking into a black tie event, his hand on her back, captioned, "Only with the word, always." That single word, paired with the image, became iconic. The internet stamped it as the closing chapter of the loyalty war. By the end, the scoreboard wasn't even close. On one side, the Harises, respected, adored, untouchable. On the other, the Frosts, dragged, mocked, abandoned by both fans and producers. The war that began as petty shade between two women had ended as a cultural referendum on loyalty, marriage, and survival in the spotlight. And the Harises had walked away as victors not just of a storyline, but of an entire city's respect. The loyalty war wasn't just about who shaded who posted what, or who leaked audio. It was about legacy. It was about which couple would stand as the face of endurance, and which would crumble under the weight of their own history. And the verdict was clear. Mendeecees and Yandy had risen, their bond shining brighter than the chaos thrown at them. Kirk and Rasheeda, after years of scandal, had finally been buried by the receipts they thought they could outrun. The streets had spoken, the blogs had confirmed it, and Atlanta had locked it in forever. In the end, the loyalty war wasn't just a scandal. It was a massacre. And the winners were crowned for life.